I mean, look, we're not in Beverly Hills, right? We're in. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of money here in Arizona. More and more money by the day, I feel like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But 28.2. I was wrong by like 300 grand, which I guess is not that big of a difference when we're talking about 28 million. But that's a big deal, right? So how does one land upon a deal like that? Just walk. Let's start there.
Well, it's a progression.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is I didn't go from selling $500,000 homes to that. I was fortunate 4 or 5 years ago to start selling some luxury homes. I think, you get an opportunity and you recognize it and you do your best to capitalize on it. Because from what I've learned, the people that are in luxury, the buyers, the sellers, they tend to be very loyal.
Right.
They're private. And if you can earn their trust, they are happy to refer you to family and friends. And so to me, it was just that progression. I mean, I started back selling anything I could. It was like on a Saturday afternoon at 3, if I got a call and it was like, hey, can you show an Ahwatukee in an hour? Bam, I was there. But again, once I had some opportunities in luxury, I did a good job with those people. And so it was that progression, and that particular account was unique because I helped build my business by calling canceled expired listings. That was actually a canceled listing.
Oh my gosh.
That my old partner Dell got a call, got an appointment with, and he asked me to go with him because he hadn't really sold as much in Silverleaf, and I'd sold some lots and a couple houses. So we went on that appointment together and, hit it off. Very, very nice couple. And it was really for one of their other homes. It was the first home they had owned in Silverleaf. So we were fortunate enough to get that house, but it was hard because their previous agent had more experience in the $2 to $4 million price range than we did. And so I had to really talk it up that, we were the up and coming, that, we were the ones that were hungrier. And so we were able to get that account. We did a good job, sold that fairly quickly. Then they let us sell one of their lots because they own a few lots up there. And even while that was going on, we knew this project was being built. So we made them aware, hey, look, we would love the opportunity. Obviously, we know you got every option under the sun for that and everybody's going to want it. But, if we continue to do well, we just like the chance. So eventually it came time. And, at that point I had such a comfort level with them. But I think that they always respected the fact that I didn't assume it. I just didn't assume that it was mine. I thought it was mine to lose. But I also didn't take it for granted. So I still brought everything I would normally bring on a listing appointment. And it was a very casual listing appointment. We literally walked the house, which, takes almost 2 hours if you do it right, just because of the size and the complexity. But we sat out by the pool and we just talked and, philosophy on how I thought, we go about it. And they had some specific ideas on how they wanted it marketed. And so, like I said, I was obviously pleased when they said, okay, we're going to go with you. But again, to me, I think that most of my clients have always liked that part of my personality. I try to never take it for granted. I feel like anytime you get an opportunity in those price points, you just have to take it and run with it. And again, even if you get the account, especially one like that, it's like you said, the history of our market is that $5 million sales used to be massive. That was massive. I mean, I sold one for $775 7 years ago. And I thought that's it.
Oh my gosh.
I'll never top that. Never in a million years did I think our market would have $30 million list prices. And so, when you look at what happened right after COVID, I mean, everything just exploded. Mm-hmm. And so now all of a sudden, and it's funny, I feel like we started this trend because it's right after we put that under contract, a $28 million popped up. Now there's a 32. Mm-hmm. So, which, you always see that. People see success and they go, okay, well, I can do it better. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of crazy. So to me, it's just been a progression. And, when you do a deal like that, it's funny. I actually, in some ways, was kind of happy the market tailed off because, I think we all ran so hard for 2 years. And when that happened, it was just almost this huge, I took some time off and then the market really slowed down, but it was good for me for a little while, just because I felt like I needed that break because I didn't realize how stressful it was while I was going through it. It was once it was done that I was like, wow, that was stressful while I was, because again, massive opportunity, and to be able to actually sell it and close it,
Right.
that's like, it just doesn't get any better.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's such a cool thing. I mean, like me and another agent on my team did a $12 million, right? And we did that, I believe, last year, and that was wild, right?
It's
I was
huge.
like, oh my gosh, dude.
It's a huge deal.
They're big deals, right? And yeah, it's wild to hear, but it's really cool to hear your story too, and how you attribute your success to the daily grind over the course of a long period of time, right? And I really respect that, and I love that, and I think that is just so valuable too for people, right? Like knowing everybody wants to do luxury, right? I think we live in a day and an age where people are watching Selling Sunset, or they're watching $1 Million Listing Beverly Hills or New York City or whatever, right? And they're like, oh man, I want to be a luxury agent. And it's like, well, yeah, but you don't want to go sell the mobile home to get there, right?
No, everybody. I mean, because, we both interview agents all the time, and it's always fascinating to me to hear people's expectations and what they think they're going to get in the business versus the reality of it, which we know is a grind. I mean, that was, again, how many agents would call the canceled listing, and then follow up as many times as it took us, not only to get the appointment, but then after we had the appointment to secure the listing.
Sure.
And then everything in between. It's just, to me, that's the reality of our business. And especially with luxury, because I really didn't set out saying I want to be a luxury agent, because I've seen that market when it's not good. And so I've always been very careful not to brand myself too hard to luxury, because if that market does get really soft, I want to make sure that, because I've lost clients that thought, and that's my fear now is, okay, people see more and more of those sales, and they don't think that I would work with their first time home buyer son. Like we just did a deal yesterday in Tempe. I think that was $375. I don't want to lose that stuff.
Right.
That stuff's fun too. I enjoy it. It's luxury obviously is great, and it's a great segment to be a part of. But I really truly like working all of it, and I'm happy that we still maintain that.
Yeah, for sure. It's so funny that you say that, because I've thought that many times, and I've never really known how to articulate that, which is the idea. Like for me, even for example, I do the podcast now, and I'm on social media, and I have a YouTube channel, and as I scaled all of that, less people asked me to help them sell real estate, right?
Oh, I could see that.
And now a lot of people would go to my team, which is great, and I'm happy, right? Like ultimately, that was my mission all along, was just to get my team to where they could go take it all, right? And I'm glad now that I have let off the gas, and I don't do that anymore. In this season, it works well for me, but it is so interesting to your point of like, when you really start to put this kind of image out into the world, how people kind of run with that perception of who they think you are or what they think you do, even if that's not necessarily what you intended on the outcome being.
Right. No, and I feel like I see agents all the time that they just put that vibe out, even though they're really not doing that much of that business. And I think that's the hard part is, because we've had great months where we sold, 5 to 10 deals that were not what you would consider luxury.
Yeah.
But they were still, great clients and really good transactions to be involved in. So to me, if you can do all luxury and that's your thing, then awesome. But I see so many agents that they want to do it, so they just put that vibe out there, and sometimes that's just not enough, and I see people struggle. So to me, it's just not viable for everybody.
Wouldn't you even argue maybe that a lot of times the 5 or 10 $700,000 deals, doing 5 or 10 of those, or 5 or 10 $800,000 deals or whatever, are in a lot, not every time, but a lot of times you'd actually take that over the one $15 million deal?
Yeah, I actually had, what I didn't realize until after the fact was an impromptu interview. A buddy of mine brought in his billionaire buddy, And we were talking at a bar, and he was asking me what I thought about luxury. And that's what I was telling him. I said, look, it's great when it's going well.
Yeah.
I said, but when it's not, I said, that's why I actually prefer the mid-range stuff. Because the reality is that 600 to 900 range, it always moves fairly well.
Yep.
Those clients' expectations are not crazy typically. I said, so it's always been really good business for me. So I said, I've never really tried that hard to do luxury. Well, come to find out later on that he was testing me essentially. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I not pick up on those vibes? And, so you don't put every opportunity in the end zone, but you learn from it. And, but yeah, there's no question. I've had some good conversations with some other prominent luxury agents who've said that exact same thing. Like, I know everybody thinks this is my jam, but I'm really happy doing 750, 850 deals that are easier, that go quicker. And the people are in a lot of ways more thankful.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times you do $3 million deals, they're $900,000 deals. You're making $100,000 every time you do like 3 of those.
Oh yeah. And great numbers.
Great numbers. Right. And again, I think it's just valuable, I think, for people to hear that, especially maybe new agents getting into the industry, people that want to get into the industry, knowing that, hey, it's not always that luxury is actually better. And in a lot of ways, it might not be. Now, can luxury be great, to your point? 100%, right? And can you make a lot of money? Yeah. But I can tell you, the $12 million deal that me and my agent did was a pain in the butt, and we fought and we fought and we fought and we fought. And the deal about fell apart 15 times, maybe more, right? And I'm surprised that we even got the deal done, to be honest with you, and actually, as of the time of filming this, they've actually, that seller has relisted that house. They're never gonna. I probably shouldn't say it live. I don't think they're gonna get what it's listed at right now. They're listed at $20 million right now. They bought it for 12.
Oh yeah,
6
I know
months
the
ago.
house now. Yeah,
yeah. But it's just it's crazy that sometimes it can be that much of a pain in the butt, and I'm not saying it was the seller or the buyer and one person in particular, but that deal overall was a pain.
Well,
right?
and they can be, and this is what I used to tell my agents. The reality is we're in kind of a weird zone right now. When you look at that market before COVID, I took a listing years ago, $3 million listing in True North, and I did the math and the true days on market, because, the MLS, you have to be careful. Because people would list them seasonally, they'd pull them off the market in the summer. And so I would explain to my agents, it's a little bit about musical chairs, because the reality is it may be the third agent that just happens to be the listing agent when that thing finally sells. And I kind of butted heads with that guy, ex-platoon leader, was in Vietnam. They had a video about him, hard ass dude. And, and he's telling me, oh, you got to do this crazy broker open like Millionaire Listing LA. And I finally had to go to, what's his face of the Cromford report, because he's like, Chinese buyers, this and that. And I finally had to ask him to do a thing. And we were like, look, there's like 2 deals a year done by Chinese. Your true days on market are like 970 is the average for a $3 million home. And your price point, like, the like just what you said, the expectation and the perception of the seller versus the reality is very difficult. And you have to, again, this is pre-COVID. Yeah. We're in a different animal right now where, and I think it warps a lot of agents' minds, because they see guys out there doing these deals. They look at my deal and think, oh, I'm going to sell a $28 million house. I may never get a $28 million listing again.
Right.
And even if I got one, I wouldn't assume that we would sell it as quickly as we did. So like you say, the reality is, if you're truly looking at it from a business standpoint, you have to analyze the numbers and say, okay, where does the part of the market that has the highest probability of selling, where is that sweet spot? And that's why, we love $1 million deals, because like you say, that's still a really fluid segment in our Scottsdale market. And you're not going to have to go to these crazy, I didn't have to do print media in China. I didn't have to throw some crazy broker open, because those are all expenses and drags on you that probably aren't going to really sell the house. So
you're putting on a show.
You are entertaining
to a degree.
that
I mean,
seller.
you are.
And that's what I tell my agents. I said, look, every seller I meet has a different idea of what sells the house.
Yep.
And so a lot of times you're just being a chameleon and just trying to match whatever marketing you think is going to not only make them happy, but not crush your budget at the same time. You're just trying to form fit that so that everybody's happy and they basically don't want to fire you before it sells. Because the reality is it's just a longer time frame typically.
It's so true, right? Every agent or every seller has a thought as to what they think will sell their home, right? Some people think it's an open house. Even on the lower end, I mean, like 300, 400, 500 grand, right? You got to do. I mean, I've met people before where it's like, you got to do 5 open houses a week or we're not hiring you, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll do it. But at the end of the day, the odds of the buyer walking through the front door because they were driving down the road and they saw the sign, it could happen, right? It could happen.
No probability.
Yeah. But everybody's got kind of a different idea.